A confident black woman in her late 20s wearing workout clothes stands inside a modern MMA gym. She has a calm expression on her face while surrounded by male fighters laughing and mocking her. One man, with a smug grin, points at her as if teasing her. The gym is filled with punching bags, mats, and weights, creating a gritty atmosphere. The lighting is slightly dim, emphasizing the tension in the scene. Maya Johnson walked into the MMA gym for the first time, her heart pounding, but her head held high. It was a big step for her, one she had thought about for months before finally deciding to take action. She wasn't there to become some kind of champion or to prove anything to anyone. Well, not yet anyway. Maya just wanted to learn how to defend herself. Life had taught her that strength wasn't always something you were born with. Sometimes it was something you built. The gym smelled like sweat and leather, a mix that made her wrinkle her nose at first. But as she looked around, she couldn't help but feel impressed. Punching bags hung from the ceiling, swaying gently as people practiced their kicks and jabs. Men and women moved across the mats, grappling and sparring with intensity. The air buzzed with energy, and for a moment Maya felt excited. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. But then she noticed the stares. At first they were subtle, just quick glances from the corner of someone's eye. But soon the looks turned into outright gawking. A group of men near the center of the room stopped what they were doing to watch her walk in. One of them, a tall guy with messy blonde hair and a cocky smirk, nudged his friend and said something under his breath. Whatever it was, it made both of them laugh. Maya tried to ignore them. She knew what this was about. She'd seen it before, in school, at work, even in line at the grocery store. People judged her based on appearances, assuming she couldn't possibly belong somewhere because of who she was. This time, though, she wasn't going to let it get to her. She reminded herself why she was here, to grow stronger inside and out. She approached the front desk where a middle-aged man with graying hair stood flipping through papers. "Hi," she said politely. "I'm here to sign up for classes." The man glanced up, his eyebrows raising slightly as if he hadn't expected her voice to sound so steady. "Sure thing," he replied, grabbing a clipboard. "First-timer?" "Yes," Maya answered. "I've never done anything like this before, but I'm ready to learn." He nodded approvingly. "Good attitude. You'll need it around here." He handed her the clipboard and pointed toward the main training area. "Go ahead and join the warm-up session. Instructor will pair you up with someone once class starts." Maya thanked him and headed over to the mats, trying to blend in as best she could. As she stretched, she couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were still on her. And sure enough, when the instructor called everyone to gather, she found herself standing next to none other than the same blonde-haired man who had been laughing earlier. "All right, everyone," the instructor announced, clapping his hands together. "Today we're working on basic sparring techniques. Pair up." Without hesitation, Blondie turned to Maya and grinned. "Guess that means you're with me," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. His name, she learned a moment later, was Jake Riley. He introduced himself loudly enough for the others nearby to hear, adding, "Hope you don't mind getting your hands dirty." Maya forced a smile, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her irritated. "No problem," she replied coolly, looking forward to it. Jake chuckled, clearly amused by her response. He leaned closer, lowering his voice just enough to make it seem like he was sharing a secret. "Just so you know, sweetheart, this isn't Zumba class. We hit hard here." Maya didn't flinch. Instead, she met his gaze directly, her dark eyes locking onto his. "Don't worry," she said evenly. "I can handle myself." If Jake was surprised by her confidence, he didn't show it. Instead, he laughed again, louder this time, making sure the rest of the group heard. "We'll see about that," he said, winking at one of his buddies. As the instructor began explaining the drill, Maya tuned out the whispers and snickers around her. She focused instead on the movements he demonstrated, committing every detail to memory. When it came time to practice, she stepped onto the mat opposite Jake, her body relaxed but alert. "Ready?" the instructor asked, looking between the two of them. Jake bounced on the balls of his feet, throwing a few mock punches into the air. "Oh, I'm ready," he said, grinning at Maya. Let's see what you've got." Maya didn't respond. She simply nodded, keeping her stance low and balanced. When the instructor gave the signal to begin, Jake lunged forward with a sloppy punch aimed at her shoulder. Maya sidestepped effortlessly, letting his momentum carry him past her. For a brief second, she considered countering but decided against it. This wasn't about showing off, it was about learning. Unfortunately, Jake didn't share her patience. After missing his first attempt, he grew frustrated, throwing another punch that was equally easy to dodge. Each failed attack only fueled his irritation, and soon he was swinging wildly, completely abandoning any semblance of technique. By the time the drill ended, Jake was panting and red-faced, while Maya remained calm and composed. The instructor blew his whistle, signaling everyone to switch partners, but not before giving Jake a pointed look. "Control your aggression," he advised. "You're leaving yourself wide open." Jake muttered something under his breath as he walked away, shooting Maya a glare over his shoulder. She pretended not to notice, focusing instead on her new partner, a quiet woman named Lisa Carter who had been watching the exchange with interest. "You handled that well," Lisa said, as they started their own round of drills. Her voice was soft but sincere. "Most people would have lost their temper by now." Maya shrugged, deflecting the compliment. "I didn't come here to fight with egos," she said. "I came here to learn." Lisa smiled faintly. "Still, it's not easy dealing with guys like that. Trust me, I know." She hesitated for a moment before adding, "Just be careful. Some of these guys don't take kindly to being shown up." Maya nodded, appreciating the warning but not letting it discourage her. She had faced worse than Jake Riley, and she wasn't about to let him or anyone else stand in her way. As the class continued, Maya threw herself into each exercise with determination, ignoring the occasional snicker or sideways glance. By the end of the session, her muscles ached and her shirt was damp with sweat, but she felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. Walking out of the gym, she promised herself one thing. No matter how many times they laughed at her, she would keep coming back. Because deep down she knew she belonged here, and sooner or later they'd have no choice but to see it too. A determined black woman in her late 20s trains intensely in an MMA gym. She wears athletic clothing and is mid-motion, practicing a kick on a heavy punching bag. Her expression is focused and strong, with sweat glistening on her forehead. The background shows other gym members working out, some lifting weights, others sparring, but all eyes are subtly drawn to her as she pushes herself harder than anyone else. The lighting highlights her resilience and power. Maya woke up early. The next morning, her body sore from the previous day's workout. Every muscle seemed to ache, but instead of feeling discouraged, she felt a strange sense of pride. For years, she had avoided physical challenges, telling herself that she wasn't cut out for them. But now, after just one session at the gym, she realized something important. Pain was temporary, but progress lasted forever. She rolled out of bed, stretched briefly, and headed to the kitchen to make coffee. As she sipped the hot liquid, she thought about Jake's smug face and the laughter that had followed her during class. It stung, sure, but it also fueled her determination. If those guys wanted to underestimate her, fine. Let them laugh. For now, someday they'd see exactly what she was capable of. That afternoon, Maya returned to the gym for her second class. This time, she came prepared, not just mentally, but physically too. She wore proper gear, including gloves and shin guards, and carried a water bottle to stay hydrated. When she walked in, she noticed a few familiar faces nodding in her direction. Some looked curious, while others still seemed skeptical. Either way, Maya didn't care. She was there to work. The warm-up exercises were tougher this time, but Maya pushed through without complaint. She could feel her body adapting already, responding to the new demands she was placing on it. By the time the instructor called everyone together for technique drills, she was breathing hard but ready to go. "Today," the instructor announced, "we're focusing on footwork and balance. These are the foundation of every good fighter." He demonstrated a series of quick steps, showing how to shift weight smoothly from one leg to the other. "Your opponent can't hit you if you're not where they expect you to be." Maya listened carefully, mimicking his movements as best she could. At first, her steps felt awkward and uncoordinated, but she kept at it, repeating the pattern over and over until it started to feel natural. Nearby, Jake watched her with a smirk, whispering something to his friend Chris. Maya ignored them, concentrating instead on perfecting her form. After the demonstration, the instructor paired everyone up for partner drills. To Maya's relief, she was matched with Lisa again. Unlike Jake, Lisa took the exercise seriously, offering helpful tips whenever Maya stumbled. "Keep your knees bent," she advised gently, "and try to stay light on your feet." Maya nodded, grateful for the guidance. Slowly but surely, her movements became more fluid. She could feel herself improving, even if it was just a little, bit at a time. And though no one said anything directly, she noticed a few people glancing her way. Not with mockery this time, but with curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, they were starting to realize that she wasn't going anywhere. As the weeks went by, Maya threw herself into training with relentless discipline. She attended every class, arriving early and staying late to practice on her own. On days when the gym was closed, she ran laps around her neighborhood or did push-ups and sit-ups at home. Her hands grew calloused from gripping the punching bags, and her legs burned from endless rounds of kicks and squats. But she didn't complain. Every drop of sweat was a step closer to proving herself. Her coach, Mr. Alvarez, began taking notice of her dedication. One evening after class, he pulled her aside. "You've got potential, Maya," he said, his voice serious but kind. "But talent alone won't get you far. You need to put in the work, and I mean real work, if you want to succeed." "I know," Maya replied, meeting his gaze steadily. "And I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Mr. Alvarez nodded approvingly. "Good. Then let's talk strategy. Fighting isn't just about brute force, it's about using your opponent's weaknesses against them. That means studying their patterns, anticipating their moves, and staying one step ahead." From that point on, Mr. Alvarez started giving Maya extra guidance during sessions. He taught her advanced techniques like how to read an opponent's stance or how to create openings in their defense. He also drilled her on mental toughness, reminding her that confidence was just as important as skill. "Fear will paralyze you," he warned. "Don't let it." Meanwhile, Jake and his friends continued mocking her progress, though their taunts grew quieter as Maya's abilities improved. One day, after witnessing her flawless execution of a spinning back kick, Jake muttered under his breath, "Beginner's luck." Maya heard him but chose not to respond. Instead, she smiled to herself, knowing that silence was the best revenge. Lisa remained a constant source of support, often cheering Maya on from the sidelines. "You're amazing, you know that?" she said one evening after class. "Most people would have quit by now, but you just keep getting better." Maya shrugged modestly. "I still have a long way to go." "True," Lisa admitted, "but don't sell yourself short. You're stronger than you think." Encouraged by Lisa's words, Maya decided to take her training to the next level. She signed up for additional private lessons with Mr. Alvarez, who pushed her harder than ever before. They worked on everything from grappling to ground fighting, each session leaving her drenched in sweat and gasping for air. But Maya didn't mind. In fact, she welcomed the challenge, knowing that every ounce of effort brought her closer to her goal. One day, Jake approached her after class, his usual cockiness replaced by a hint of curiosity. "Hey," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "I was wondering, how'd you learn to move like that? You're pretty fast." Maya raised an eyebrow, unsure whether he was genuinely interested or just trying to bait her. "Practice," she replied simply. Jake hesitated, then added, "Well, good job, I guess." It was the closest thing to an apology she'd gotten from him, and while it didn't erase the past, it was a start. Maya accepted it with a small nod, choosing to focus on the future rather than dwell on old grievances. By the end of the month, Maya's transformation was undeniable. She moved with precision and purpose, her punches sharp and her kicks powerful. Even the skeptics in the gym had to admit that she was improving rapidly. Still, Maya knew she couldn't rest on her laurels. There was always more to learn. more to achieve. One evening, as she packed up her gear after class, Jake walked over to her. His expression was unusually serious, almost nervous. "Listen," he began, shoving his hands into his pockets. "I've been thinking, maybe we should spar sometime. Just us. No pressure." Maya studied him for a moment, trying to gauge his intentions. Was this another trick? Another attempt to humiliate her? Or was he genuinely curious about her skills? Finally, she nodded. "Sure," she said calmly. "When?" Jake grinned, his confidence returning. "How about tomorrow, after class?" "Fine," Maya agreed. "But don't cry when you lose." Her words caught him off guard, and for a split second, he looked uncertain. Then he laughed, shaking his head. "We'll see about that," he said, walking away. As Maya left the gym that night, she felt a thrill of anticipation. Tomorrow's match wouldn't just be a test of her skills, it would be a chance to prove once and for all that she belonged here. And deep down she knew she was ready. The day of Maya's sparring match with Jake arrived sooner than she expected. Word had spread quickly through the gym about the challenge, and by the time class ended, a small crowd had gathered near the mats. Some people looked curious, eager to see how this would play out. Others wore skeptical expressions, clearly doubting Maya's chances against someone like Jake, who was known for his aggressive style and brute strength. Maya ignored the whispers as she laced up her gloves. She focused on her breathing, calming her nerves. This wasn't just another practice session, it was personal. Not because she hated Jake or wanted revenge, but because she needed to prove something, not just to him, but to herself. If she could stand toe-to-toe with someone like Jake, then maybe she really did belong here. Jake bounced on the balls of his feet at the edge of the mat, shadowboxing and grinning at his friends. He cracked jokes, trying to act casual, but Maya noticed the way his eyes darted toward her occasionally. Beneath his bravado there was a flicker of uncertainty. Maybe he hadn't expected her to take him seriously. Or maybe, just maybe, he was starting to realize that underestimating her might have been a mistake. When Mr. Alvarez stepped onto the mat to referee, the room fell silent. "All right, you two," he said, glancing between Maya and Jake. "This isn't a competition. It's a learning experience. Keep it clean and no cheap shots." Both fighters nodded, though Jake's grin widened as he turned to face Maya. "Ready to get schooled?" he teased, raising his fists. Maya didn't respond. Instead, she slipped into her fighting stance, keeping her movements smooth and controlled. Her weight shifted evenly between her legs and her hands hovered near her face, protecting her jaw. For a moment, she locked eyes with Jake, silently daring him to make the first move. "Begin," Mr. Alvarez called out, stepping back to give them space. Without hesitation, Jake charged forward, throwing a wild right hook aimed at Maya's temple. It was exactly what she had anticipated. A reckless, overconfident attack designed to intimidate rather than connect. With ease, she sidestepped his punch, letting his momentum carry him past her. Before he could recover, she delivered a sharp jab to his ribs, just hard enough to let him know she meant business. Jake stumbled slightly, caught off guard by her speed. He recovered quickly, though, spinning around to throw another punch. This one was faster, more precise, but Maya blocked it effortlessly, using her forearm to deflect the blow. The crowd murmured in surprise, some exchanging astonished looks. No one had expected her to hold her ground so well, determined not to be embarrassed. Jake pressed forward, unleashing a flurry of punches and kicks. Each strike came dangerously close, but Maya remained calm, dodging and weaving with fluid grace. She moved like water, flowing around his attacks without wasting energy. Every time he lunged, she slipped away, staying just out of reach. "You're too scared to hit me," Jake shouted, frustration creeping into his voice. His movements grew sloppier as he tried to overwhelm her with sheer aggression. Maya didn't rise to the bait. She waited patiently, studying his rhythm, looking for an opening. And then she saw it. A brief moment when Jake dropped his guard after a missed kick. In an instant, she closed the distance, driving her knee into his side with surprising force. The impact knocked the wind out of him and he staggered backward, clutching his ribs. But Maya wasn't done yet. As Jake struggled to regain his balance, she grabbed his arm, twisting it behind his back and locking him into a tight submission hold. "Tap out if you want me to stop," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the stunned silence of the room. For a moment, Jake resisted, his pride refusing to let him admit defeat. But the pressure on his shoulder became unbearable, and finally, he slapped the mat twice, signaling surrender. Maya released him immediately, stepping back as he collapsed, to his knees, gasping for air. The room erupted into cheers and applause, though not everyone looked happy. Jake's friends exchanged uneasy glances while others clapped enthusiastically, clearly impressed by what they had just witnessed. Lisa rushed over to Maya, hugging her tightly. "You did it!" she exclaimed, beaming with pride. Maya smiled, faintly wiping sweat from her brow. "I told you I'd win," she said, her tone light but confident. As the crowd dispersed, Mr. Alvarez approached Maya, his expression serious but approving. "That was impressive," he admitted. "You stayed calm under pressure and used your opponent's mistakes against him. That's textbook strategy." "Thanks," Maya replied, feeling a swell of pride despite herself. She glanced over at Jake, who was still sitting on the mat looking dazed. Part of her felt bad for humiliating him in front of everyone, but another part reminded her that he had brought this on himself. He had laughed at her, mocked her, and dismissed her abilities, all because of assumptions based on appearances. Now he knew better. Later that evening, Maya left the gym feeling lighter than she had in weeks. The weight of doubt and ridicule that had followed her since day one seemed to lift, replaced by a newfound sense of confidence. She had proven herself, not just to Jake, but to everyone who had underestimated her. More importantly, she had proven it to herself. Still, she knew this was only the beginning. Winning a single sparring match didn't make her invincible. There were bigger challenges ahead, tougher opponents waiting to test her skills. But for now, she allowed herself to celebrate the victory, however small it might seem in the grand scheme of things. News of the fight spread quickly beyond the walls of the gym. By the next morning, several members had posted videos online, capturing key moments of the bout. One clip in particular went viral, the final sequence where Maya executed the submission hold, forcing Jake to tap out. Comments poured in from all over, ranging from praise to disbelief. Some viewers accused Jake of throwing the match, claiming he must have gone easy on her. Others hailed Maya as an inspiration, calling her performance flawless and unstoppable. At first, Maya tried to ignore the attention, focusing instead on her training. But as the days passed, she began to notice a shift in the way people treated her. Strangers approached her at the gym asking for tips or advice. Young women especially seemed drawn to her story, seeing her as proof that stereotypes could be shattered with hard work and determination. Even Jake changed his tune, albeit reluctantly. A few days after their match, he pulled Maya aside before class. "Look," he said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. "I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have doubted you. You're really good." Maya raised an eyebrow, surprised by his sincerity. "Apology accepted," she said simply. "Just don't make the same mistake again." Jake chuckled nervously, running a hand through his messy blonde hair. "Trust me, I won't. You've earned my respect." Though their conversation was brief, it marked a turning point in their relationship. From that day forward, Jake stopped teasing Maya and even started offering constructive feedback during training sessions. While they weren't exactly friends, there was a mutual understanding between them, a shared respect born from competition. With each passing week, Maya continued to push herself harder, refining her techniques and building her endurance. Mr. Alvarez kept challenging her, introducing new drills and exercises designed to test her limits. He also encouraged her to enter local amateur tournaments, believing she had the potential to compete at higher levels. "You're ready," he told her one evening after a particularly grueling session. "Don't wait for permission to chase your dreams. Go out there and show the world what you can do." Maya hesitated, unsure whether she was truly prepared for such a big step. Competing in a tournament meant facing opponents who were faster, stronger and more experienced than anyone she had encountered in the gym. Could she handle the pressure? Did she have what it took to succeed? But deep down, she already knew the answer. She had faced adversity before, both inside and outside the ring. She had proven herself time and time again, overcoming every obstacle that stood in her way. Why should this be any different? "I'll do it," she said finally, meeting Mr. Alvarez's gaze with unwavering resolve. "But I'm not doing it for fame or glory. I'm doing it because I believe in myself." Mr. Alvarez smiled, patting her shoulder. "That's all that matters. Now go home and rest. You're going to need it." As Maya walked out of the gym that night, she felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face whatever challenges came her way. After all, she had already proven that she was capable of far more than anyone, including herself, had ever imagined. A black woman in her late 20s stands victorious in the center of an MMA ring, wearing professional fight gear. Her fists are raised in triumph as the referee holds up her arm to signal her win. The crowd in the background cheers wildly, holding up signs and banners with phrases like "Go Maya" and "Unstoppable." The lighting is bright, emphasizing the intensity of the moment, with sweat glistening on her forehead and a look of fierce determination on her face. Maya's decision to enter an amateur MMA tournament came with its own set of challenges. Signing up was easy enough, but preparing for actual competition was a whole different story. The opponents she would face were no longer classmates or gym buddies. They were seasoned fighters who had spent years honing their craft. Some had even competed at regional levels, earning reputations for their speed, strength, and strategy. Still, Maya refused to let fear hold her back. She threw herself into training with even greater intensity than before, spending hours each day perfecting her techniques. Mr. Alvarez pushed her harder than ever, designing grueling workouts that tested not only her physical endurance but also her mental toughness. He drilled her on everything from footwork to grappling, making sure she was ready for any situation she might encounter in the ring. "You can't predict what your opponent will do," he reminded her during one session, "but you can control how you respond. Stay calm, stay focused, and trust your instincts." Maya took his advice to heart, practicing until her muscles burned and her lungs felt like they were on fire. She studied videos of past tournaments, analyzing the fighting styles of potential opponents. Each match was a puzzle, and Maya approached it like a strategist looking for patterns and weaknesses she could exploit. As the tournament date drew closer, the reality of what she was about to do began to sink in. Maya knew she couldn't afford to make mistakes, not against fighters who wouldn't hesitate to take advantage of even the smallest error. But instead of letting doubt creep in, she used it as motivation. Every early morning run, every late-night practice session, every drop of sweat was a reminder of why she was doing this. To prove to herself that she was capable of greatness. On the day of the tournament, Maya arrived at the venue feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. The atmosphere was electric, with crowds filling the bleachers and chatter echoing through the arena. Fighters from all over the city had gathered for the event, each one eager to claim victory. Maya spotted Lisa in the stands holding up a handmade sign that read, "Go Maya." It made her smile, easing some of the tension in her chest. Her first opponent was Eric Dawson, a tall, muscular man known for his aggressive style and powerful strikes. Watching him warm up, Maya could see why he was considered a formidable competitor. His movements were sharp and precise, and his confidence radiated off him like heat. When the announcer called their names, Maya stepped into the ring, keeping her expression neutral despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The referee gave them their instructions, then signaled for the fight to begin. Eric wasted no time, charging forward with a series of quick jabs aimed at Maya's head. She dodged the first few punches, staying light on her feet, but Eric's reach was longer than she had anticipated. One of his blows grazed her cheek, drawing a gasp from the crowd. Maya didn't panic. Instead, she used the moment to assess his rhythm. Eric was fast, but his attacks lacked subtlety. Once he committed to a punch, his body telegraphed his next move. Maya waited for her opening, staying patient as she circled him. When Eric lunged again, she sidestepped and countered with a swift kick to his thigh, targeting the muscle just above his knee. The impact slowed him down slightly, giving her the split-second advantage she needed. Seizing the opportunity, Maya closed the distance, driving her elbow into his ribs. Eric grunted in pain, stumbling backward. Before he could recover, Maya grabbed his arm, twisting it behind his back and locking him into a tight submission hold. The crowd roared as Eric tapped out, signaling his surrender. The referee stepped in, raising Maya's arm in victory. Cheers erupted around the ring, with Lisa jumping up and down and waving her sign enthusiastically. Maya allowed herself a brief moment to soak it all in, the applause, the admiration, but she quickly refocused. There were still more matches to come, and she couldn't afford to get complacent. Her second opponent proved to be equally challenging, a wiry fighter named Ryan who relied on speed and agility rather than brute force. Unlike Eric, Ryan was unpredictable, darting in and out of range with lightning-fast strikes. For the first round, Maya struggled to find her footing, narrowly avoiding several close calls, but she refused to give up, using her defensive skills to weather the storm. By the second round, Maya had figured out Ryan's pattern. He favored high kicks and spinning attacks, leaving his lower body vulnerable. She adjusted her strategy accordingly, focusing on low sweeps and leg grabs. When Ryan attempted another flashy kick, Maya dropped to the mat, hooking her leg around his ankle and yanking it out from under him. He crashed to the ground hard, giving her the chance to pounce and secure a dominant position. With Ryan pinned beneath her, Maya delivered a series of controlled punches to his side, forcing him to tap out. Once again, the referee declared her the winner, and once again the crowd erupted in cheers. Maya felt a surge of pride as she climbed out of the ring, knowing she had earned every bit of their applause. After the tournament ended, Maya found herself surrounded by well-wishers, many of whom she had never met before. Reporters shoved microphones in her face, asking questions about her training regimen and her thoughts on the matches. One journalist asked if she planned to pursue a professional career in MMA. "I'm taking things one step at a time," Maya replied, her tone measured, but confident. "For now, I'm just focused on improving and seeing where this journey takes me." Her words resonated with viewers, especially young women who saw her as a role model. Videos of her fights went viral online, inspiring countless comments and shares. Some praised her technique, while others admired her resilience and determination. A local news station even featured her in a segment titled "Breaking Barriers," highlighting her rise from a mocked beginner to a celebrated competitor. Despite the newfound attention, Maya remained grounded. She returned to the gym the following week, resuming her training as if nothing had changed. To her, the tournament wasn't the end goal. It was just another milestone on her path to becoming the best version of herself. Jake was among the first to congratulate her when she walked into the gym. "You crushed it," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "I mean, I always knew you were tough, but wow." Maya smiled, appreciating the compliment. "Thanks. You've come a long way too," she added, nodding toward the mat where he was working on his footwork. Since their sparring match, Jake had taken his training more seriously, often seeking Maya's advice on technique. Their rivalry had evolved into mutual respect, and Maya couldn't have been prouder of the progress they'd both made. As the weeks passed, Maya continued to push herself, setting new goals and striving to improve. She knew there would be tougher opponents ahead, fighters with skills and experience far beyond anything she had encountered so far. But she welcomed the challenge, knowing that each battle would bring her closer to mastery. One evening, as she packed up her gear after class, Lisa approached her with a thoughtful expression. "You know," she said, "you're inspiring people, not just here but everywhere. People are watching you and thinking, if she can do it, maybe I can too." Maya paused, considering the weight of those words. She had started this journey for herself, for her own growth and self-confidence. But somewhere along the way it had become something bigger. Her story was proof that perseverance and belief in oneself could overcome even the harshest criticism and doubt. "Thanks," Maya said, finally, smiling softly. "That means a lot." As she left the gym that night, Maya felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had proven herself, not just to the world, but to herself. And though there were still challenges ahead, she faced them with unwavering determination. Whatever came next, she was ready. A confident black woman in her late 20s stands face to face with a professional MMA fighter inside a brightly lit gym. She wears sleek black fight gear, her expression calm but focused as she listens to the pro fighter's taunts. The pro fighter, a muscular man with an arrogant smirk, points at her while speaking loudly to draw attention from onlookers nearby. In the background, other gym members stop their workouts to watch the exchange, creating a tense and dramatic atmosphere. Maya's growing reputation as a skilled amateur fighter caught the attention of someone unexpected. Daniel Hayes, a well-known professional MMA fighter who was visiting local gyms to promote his upcoming matches. Known for his flashy fighting style and even flashier personality, Daniel had built a career on defeating opponents quickly and decisively. But off the mat, he was infamous for his arrogance, often dismissing newcomers or underdogs as not worth his time. When Daniel walked into the gym one afternoon, everyone stopped what they were doing to watch. He carried himself like a celebrity, strutting across the mats with a cocky grin and shaking hands with fans. His presence electrified the room, but Maya barely glanced his way. She was too busy practicing her footwork, weaving in and out of imaginary attacks as sweat dripped down her face. It didn't take long for Daniel to notice her. At first, he just raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised to see a woman training so intensely. Then curiosity got the better of him, and he approached her during a break between drills. "You're Maya, right?" he asked, his tone casual but dripping with condescension. "I've seen your videos online. Pretty impressive, for an amateur." Maya turned to face him, keeping her expression neutral. "Thanks," she said simply, not giving him the satisfaction of seeing her react. Daniel chuckled, clearly amused by her lack of enthusiasm. "Tell you what," he said, raising his voice slightly so others could hear. "Why don't we have a little fun? A charity exhibition match, me against you. No stakes, just entertainment. What do you say?" The crowd around them buzzed with excitement. Some people looked thrilled at the idea of seeing Maya go head-to-head with a pro fighter, while others exchanged skeptical glances, convinced it would end in disaster. Maya hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Sure," she said calmly. "Sounds like a challenge." Daniel grinned, clearly expecting her to back down. When she agreed instead, his smile faltered slightly, though he quickly recovered. "Great," he said, clapping his hands together. 2 weeks from now. Be ready." As Daniel walked away, Jake appeared beside Maya, his expression serious. "You realize that guy doesn't mess around, right?" he asked. "He's faster, stronger, and way more experienced than anyone you've fought before." "I know," Maya replied, her voice steady. "But I didn't get this far by backing down from challenges." Jake nodded, impressed by her resolve. "All right then, let's get to work." Over the next 2 weeks, Maya trained harder than ever. With Mr. Alvarez's guidance, she studied videos of Daniel's previous fights, analyzing his strengths and weaknesses. Daniel favored powerful strikes and relied heavily on his speed to overwhelm opponents. But Maya noticed something else. He tended to leave himself open after big moves, overcommitting to flashy attacks that left gaps in his defense. "She's studying him like a chess player," Lisa observed one evening as she watched Maya practice. "If anyone can figure out how to beat him, it's her." Maya spent hours perfecting her counters, focusing on timing and precision. She worked on evading high kicks and capitalizing on openings created by Daniel's aggressive style. Every drill, every punch, every kick was done with him in mind. Her body ached constantly, but she refused to slow down. This wasn't just another fight. It was a chance to prove herself on a much bigger stage. On the night of the exhibition match, the arena was packed with spectators eager to see what would happen. Posters advertising the event featured bold headlines like "Amateur versus Pro, Can Maya Pull Off the Impossible?" Reporters swarmed the entrance, snapping photos and asking questions. Maya ignored them all, staying laser-focused as she prepared backstage. When she stepped into the ring, the crowd erupted into cheers. Daniel stood across from her, bouncing on the balls of his feet with a smug grin. Unlike Jake or Eric, he exuded confidence without a trace of nervousness. To him, this wasn't a real competition. It was a performance, a chance to show off his skills against someone he assumed would be easy to defeat. The referee called them to the center, going over the rules before signaling for the fight to begin. Daniel wasted no time, charging forward with a series of rapid punches aimed at Maya's head. Each strike came dangerously close, but Maya stayed calm, dodging and weaving with practiced ease. She knew better than to engage directly. Her best chance lay in wearing him down and waiting for the right moment to strike. Daniel grew frustrated as his attacks failed to connect. He threw a spinning back kick, hoping to catch her off guard, but Maya ducked beneath it, closing the distance and delivering a sharp elbow to his ribs. The impact startled him, forcing him to stumble backward. For the first time, his confident grin faltered. Encouraged by the opening, Maya pressed forward, using her agility to stay inside Daniel's range. She landed a series of quick jabs to his midsection, each blow chipping away at his composure. The crowd roared, sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding. Desperate to regain control, Daniel unleashed a flurry of kicks and punches, trying to overwhelm her with sheer force. Maya absorbed the pressure, blocking most of his strikes, and countering when opportunities arose. Finally, she saw what she had been waiting for. Daniel lunged forward with a wild haymaker, leaving his side completely exposed. In an instant, Maya drove her knee into his stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Before he could recover, she followed, up with a spinning elbow strike to his jaw. Daniel crumpled to the mat, unconscious, as the referee rushed in to call the fight. The arena exploded with cheers, the noise deafening as the audience jumped to their feet. Maya stood in the center of the ring, breathing heavily but composed as the referee raised her arm in victory. It had taken less than 15 seconds. Afterward, reporters swarmed her, eager to hear her thoughts on the historic win. "How did you prepare for such a tough opponent?" one asked. "I trained hard and stayed focused," Maya replied, her tone humble but proud. "I knew I couldn't match his power, so I focused on my speed and strategy. And I trusted myself." Daniel eventually regained consciousness and admitted defeat graciously, shaking Maya's hand and congratulating her on a flawless performance. "You earned it," he said, his arrogance replaced by genuine respect. "You're the real deal." As Maya left the arena that night, she reflected on how far she had come. From being laughed at in her first MMA class to taking down a professional fighter in record time, she had proven that determination and resilience could overcome any obstacle. More importantly, she had inspired countless others to believe in themselves and chase their dreams no matter how impossible they seemed. Maya smiled to herself, knowing this was just the beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them, one step at a time. A triumphant black woman in her late 20s stands in the center of a bright MMA arena, holding her arms up in victory. She wears sleek black fight gear, with sweat glistening on her forehead, and a look of fierce determination on her face. Around her, the crowd cheers wildly, holding up signs that read, "Maya, the real deal," and "Unstoppable Champion." The referee is raising her hand high, while a defeated pro fighter lies unconscious on the mat behind her. The lighting highlights the drama of the moment, emphasizing her strength and resilience. The aftermath of Maya's 15-second knockout against Daniel Hayes was nothing short of extraordinary. Videos of the fight went viral almost instantly, racking up millions of views within hours. Social media platforms were flooded with comments, memes, and hashtags like Maya Unstoppable and Underdog Wins. People from all over the world praised her skill, determination, and ability to defy expectations. For Maya, though, the attention wasn't what mattered most. As she sat in the locker room after the match, still catching her breath, she reflected on how far she had come. Just months ago, she had walked into an MMA gym as a complete beginner, mocked and underestimated by nearly everyone. Now she had taken down one of the most arrogant professional fighters in front of a packed arena and proved beyond doubt that she belonged in the ring. Lisa found her there, holding a towel around her shoulders and smiling softly. "You did it, Lisa," said, her voice filled with pride. Not just for yourself, but for every woman who's ever been told they don't belong somewhere. Maya nodded, appreciating the sentiment but keeping her focus grounded. I didn't do this to make a statement, she replied. I did it because I wanted to see how far I could push myself. But if my story inspires someone else to try something they thought was impossible, then that's amazing. As the days passed, Maya became a symbol of perseverance and empowerment. Local news outlets interviewed her, asking about her journey and what advice she would give to others facing similar challenges. Her response was always the same. Believe in yourself, even when no one else does. Hard work pays off, but you have to be willing to put in the effort. Her newfound fame also brought opportunities she hadn't expected. Promoters reached out, offering contracts and sponsorship deals. Some suggested she turn professional immediately, citing her performance against Daniel as proof that she was ready. Others invited her to speak at events or participate in campaigns aimed at encouraging young women to pursue careers in sports. Maya listened carefully to each offer, but remained cautious. She knew that transitioning to professional fighting required more than talent. It demanded discipline, strategy, and a long-term plan. She didn't want to rush into anything without careful consideration. Instead, she decided to take things slowly, continuing to train and improve while weighing her options. Back at the gym, life returned to its usual rhythm. Almost. Jake and the others greeted her with newfound respect, often seeking her advice during practice sessions. Even Daniel stopped by one day, surprising everyone by congratulating her again and offering tips for future matches. You've got potential, he admitted, his tone sincere. Don't waste it. Maya appreciated the gesture, recognizing that such humility was rare for someone like him. She thanked him politely, knowing that his words carried weight. If Daniel, a seasoned pro, believed in her abilities, then maybe she truly was destined for greatness. Despite the praise and recognition, Maya stayed humble. She continued attending classes, working hard alongside beginners and veterans alike. To her, the gym wasn't just a place to train. It was a community where everyone supported each other's growth. And as much as she loved competing, she cherished those moments of camaraderie just as much. One evening, as she packed up her gear after a particularly grueling session, Mr. Alvarez approached her with a thoughtful expression. You've accomplished so much already, he said, leaning against the wall. But I know you're not done yet. What's next for you? Maya paused, considering the question. She had spent so much time focusing on individual goals, winning matches, proving doubters wrong, that she hadn't fully thought about the bigger picture. But now, standing on the brink of something greater, she realized her journey was about more than personal victories. I want to inspire people, she said finally, her voice steady. Not just women, but anyone who feels like they don't fit in or aren't good enough. I want them to see me and think, if she can do it, maybe I can too. Mr. Alvarez smiled, nodding approvingly. That's a worthy goal, and you're already doing it whether you realize it or not. Keep going, Maya. The world needs more fighters like you. Encouraged by his words, Maya made a decision. She began volunteering at local youth centers, teaching self-defense classes to kids who might otherwise never step foot in a gym. Many of them came from backgrounds similar to hers, facing stereotypes and obstacles, but she showed them that strength wasn't defined by size or experience. It was about believing in yourself and refusing to give up. Her impact extended beyond the mat. Online forums and social media groups dedicated to female fighters started using her name as a rallying cry. Young girls posted videos of themselves, practicing kicks and punches, tagging Maya in their posts with messages like, "This is for you." Teachers, coaches, and mentors shared her story as an example of what could be achieved through hard work and resilience. Even outside the world of MMA, Maya's influence grew. Women in industries dominated by men cited her as proof that breaking barriers was possible. Entrepreneurs, artists, and activists drew inspiration from her refusal to let others dictate her limits. In interviews, she emphasized the importance of patience and persistence, reminding people that success rarely happened overnight. Still, Maya never lost sight of why she had started this journey in the first place. Every morning she woke up early to run laps around her neighborhood. Every afternoon she trained at the gym, pushing herself harder than ever before. And every night she reflected on her progress, setting new goals and dreaming of what might come next. Months later, Maya received an invitation to compete in a regional amateur championship, a stepping stone toward professional status. Though nervous, she accepted without hesitation, knowing it was the logical next step in her evolution as a fighter. The tournament promised tougher opponents, higher stakes, and greater scrutiny, but Maya welcomed the challenge. She had faced adversity before and emerged stronger each time. On the day of the championship, Maya stood in the locker room, tying her gloves and taking deep breaths to calm her nerves. Lisa knocked gently on the door, peeking her head inside. "Ready?" she asked, holding up a sign that read, "Go Maya." Maya laughed, feeling a surge of gratitude for her friend's unwavering support. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied. When she stepped into the arena, the crowd erupted into cheers, waving banners and chanting her name. For a moment, she allowed herself to absorb the energy, letting it fuel her confidence. Then she focused, slipping into her fighting stance and locking eyes with her opponent. The match was intense, testing every ounce of skill and endurance Maya had developed over the past year. Her opponent was fast, strong, and relentless, forcing Maya to dig deep and rely on everything she had learned. When the final bell rang, the judges declared her the winner, cementing her status as one of the top amateur fighters in the region. As she stood in the center of the ring, surrounded by applause and celebration, Maya felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had proven herself, not just to the world, but to herself. And though there were still challenges ahead, she faced them with unwavering determination. Walking out of the arena that night, Maya glanced up at the stars, smiling softly. Her journey was far from over, but she knew one thing for certain: she was unstoppable. Whatever came next, she was ready.